Hello everyone, welcome to Ansarkari. In this video, we'll be continuing with the topics of ratio and proportion. In the previous videos, we discussed what is the meaning of ratio, and we also discussed some questions over it as to how to calculate or how to consider the ratio given of some particular entities with their given values, and then to find out the relation between them and what the question is asking. In this particular video, we'll continue with some more topics and various other types of questions within the concept of ratio. Now, this particular question says a certain sum is divided between A, B, C, and D. Now, A, B, C, and D are some entities here, and a particular sum or a value is divided in the ratio of such that A and B's ratio is 1:3, B and C's ratio is 2:5, and that of C and D is 2:3. Now, here in this case, we can see that the individual relations are given, ratios between AB, BC, and CD. If the difference in shares of A and C is 3510, then the share of D is. Now, clearly, we can see that the question is asking us the ratio between A, B, C, and D collectively. Here it is given individually and in forms of pair. But what we need is the direct relationship between the four so as to calculate the share of D with the help of this particular value that is given to us. Following this, first we'll write this individually. That is, A ratio B is 1:3, B ratio C is 2:5, and C ratio D is 2:3. If you have written in these ratios in this particular way, first we'll go by the conventional method. And how do we proceed in calculating the actual ratio between these four? For example, we need to write them in this particular way. So first we'll have to take any two pairs out of these three. So we'll take up AB and BC for the simpler method, and we'll write it in this particular manner. Now we'll write here 1:3, since A ratio B is 1:3, and below that we'll write 2:5. Now, the key to solving and finding out the common ratio or perhaps the direct ratio between A, B, and C is we'll check the common entity that is present here. And the common entity between these three is B. Hence, we'll find out the least common multiple of these two numbers. For example, 3 and 2 in this case. And the least common multiple here is 6. So we'll have to multiply 3 with such a number that results into 6. And that particular number will be 2. But here we do not need to multiply only 3, rather even 1 needs to be multiplied. And same will be the case for this particular row. Here we'll have to multiply this by 3 so that this results in 6 and this 5 will become 15. So when we multiply, the actual ratio between A, B, and C will be 2:6:15. Hence, we found out the direct relation or the ratios between A, B, and C. Now we'll be writing here these ratios directly. For example, 2:6:15. These are the ratios of A, B, and C. Now, since we need to compare these and relate this with the D, we'll write here the ratio of C to D. That is 2:3, and we'll try to make this particular common part present here, that is the entity C. We'll try to make these ratios same so as to compare A, B, and C directly. Again, we'll go by the same procedure as we did in this case. So we'll find out the LCM between these two, like of these two numbers, 15 and 2. And the least common multiple will be equal to 30. So we'll have to multiply this particular part, or 15, I should say directly, by 2 so as to get 30. This is just for the case of 15. And for this, I also need to multiply this particular 2 with 2 and 6 so as to keep the equivalent ratio present here, and so that these don't get disproportionate. And with regard to 2:3, I need to multiply them by 15 so as to make 2 uh, changes to 30. And in the same process, similarly, I'll have to multiply 3 also by 15 to keep the ratio similar. And so I'll just write the ratios here. So 2 multiplied by 2 gives us 4. 6 multiplied by 2 gives us 12. 15 multiplied by 2 gives us 30. And here 3 multiplied by 15 gives us 45. Which means that the ratio between A, B, C and D is 4 ratio 12 ratio 30 ratio 45. Now we can come to the question and see what the question is asking. The question is saying the difference in the shares of A and C is rupees 3,510, which means if we subtract the ratios of A and C, which will be equal to 26 units. As we have studied in the previous videos very nicely, that all these ratios, they are just units. And we need to compare these units with the given values. For example, here the value is 3510. So we'll equate 26 units to rupees 3510. The value can be anything, the unit can be anything. It just depends on the question. So 1 unit will be equal to 3510 divided by 26 here. So if we try to divide them, we get the value as 1 here and then 135. Now, since we know that the value of 1 unit is equal to 135 rupees, so the value of 45 units, because G is equal to 45 units, will be equal to 135 multiplied by 45, like the units multiplied by the actual value of 1 unit. And here we have the number of units. So value of 1 unit and number of units, and if we multiply them, we get the value as 6075 rupees. And now here they were asking what is the share of D. So this particular is the share of D. If they were asking the maybe the sum of shares of B and A, then we would have summed these ratios. For example, 14 plus 12, it would have been 16. And then we will multiply 16 because 16 is the number of units multiplied by the value of 1 unit, which is 135. And then the answer would be the value. This was just an example. If they would ask the sum of maybe the shares of A and B. And just in this particular way, they can create, the question can be created in any manner, which we should know just the basic concept. And now this was the conventional and the lengthy method. There's also one trick method, which we'll be discussing now for this particular same question. So I'll just mark the answer here, which is 6075 rupees is the share of tea. Let's move on to the next method for this particular question. Now, the next method for this particular question is the short trick method. And here what we'll do is we'll directly write the ratios instead of first calculating for A, B, and C and then comparing that with C and D to find the final ratio. We'll just write them simply here. 2:5 is that of B and C, and 2:3 is that of C and D. Now what we'll do is we will write in these particular spaces the number that is present on this particular side. For example, in 1:3, we have two blank spaces that are present here. So here we'll be writing 3 and 3 because we have 3 here. Then in this particular row, we have here 2 dashes. So here we'll write 5 because on this side we have 5. All the numbers on this side, no matter how many numbers are there, we'll have 5 only. Same in case of here, they'll have 3. And all numbers on this side, they'll have 2 only, no matter how numbers. Same in case of it, if there were any particular other entities that were present. So we'll just write 2 here. Here we have 2 dashes, so we'll just write 2 and 2 here. Now what we'll do is we'll directly multiply all. For example, 3 multiplied by 3 is 9, and then 9 5 is 45. 9 5 times is 45. Then here we have 6 multiplied by 5, which is 30. And here we have 3 multiplied by 4, which is equal to 12. And here we have 2 multiplied by 2, which is equal to 4. Again, we got the same ratio, and then by the same process, like these are all the ratio units, we'll just equate them with whatever values that are given, and again we'll receive the same answer. We'll conclude with that. So here this question ends. Thank you. Now the next question says that rupees 3,600 is divided between Seema, Komal and Rita such that the ratios of the shares of like Seema and Komal is 1.5 to 2 and that of Komal to Rita is 2 ratio 2.5. Now that asking find Rita's share. Again we have the value present here, entities Seema, Komal and Rita, and we also have the ratios present here. Why this question is different from the previous question is because here the ratios are given in decimal form. For example, here we have 2.5 and here we have 1.5. So we need to convert them into simpler forms or perhaps directly into whole numbers so that we can have an easier calculation in the standard way. So we'll simply write S for Seema, K for Komal, the ratio is 1.5 to 2 and that of Komal to Rita is 2 ratio 2.5. Now, to convert them, we can simply divide 1.5 by 10. So it becomes 15 because decimal point shifts to right. And then the numbers become 15.000, infinite zero. So it doesn't matter. The number 15 is jayega. And here, since you're dividing 1.5 by 10, we also need to multiply 2 by 10, which further becomes 20. So ratio of Seema to Komal ka share is 15 ratio 20. And the shares of Komal to Rita is 2 ratio 2.5. Again, we need to multiply 2.5 by 10 so that it becomes 25. So we'll get 25 here. And since we are multiplying 2.5 by 10, we also need to multiply 2 by 20 as it happened in this particular case. The reason for this is if we do not multiply the another number also by the same number, just by which you're multiplying the first number, then the ratio will become disproportionate. And there will be no point left of the ratio. The ratio won't remain the same as it was originally. So to let the numbers be in proportion as they were originally, we multiply both the numbers by the same number. If we need to multiply one number by any particular number. And another way to understand this, like why we multiplied it by 10 is, see 1.5 is equal to 15 upon 10. Like these two things are same, just the representation is here it is in decimal and here it is in fraction form, like as we just write it. So I can write 15 upon 10 raised to 2. So this and this is actually equal. But the point here is that here we have decimal, here we have denominator 10, which we do not need. So we'll multiply this number by 10. And since we are multiplying this number by 10, we also need to multiply this by 10. So here 10 gets cancelled and we get 15. And here 10 gets multiplied by 2. So we get 20. Hence, this particular thing. And same thing happened here as well. Now we'll collectively write all the three entities like Seema, Komal, and then the ratio to that of Rita. So all these three ratios we need to calculate like in according to each other, like the relation of all these three. So we'll write here 15 ratio 20 as we have been doing in the previous methods. And that of Komal to Rita is 20 ratio 25. These things I've taken from here and here. So I'll just add here. Now here, one benefit that we have is the common entity. For example, the entity which is present in both the ratios has same values here, the values of the units. So we'll directly write 20 and we do not need to take any LCM or convert or multiply these things. Fine. There's some previous case may we used to do. And so we'll write the direct same thing here and simply we'll write direct same thing here also and here also. Now, one thing that we can observe here is that all these three numbers, they are multiples of the number 5. So we can divide them all by 5 and then we get the simpler ratios, which is 3 ratio 4 ratio 5. Now this becomes easier for us to calculate and these ratios are same actually if we see. So there is nothing as such key proportion in here or anything. These are just the same, just that the numbers have changed. The ratio remains the same still. Now the question that they're asking is find Rita's share and the information that they have given is okay, and this particular amount that is 3,600 is divided between all the three. So we'll have the sum of these three numbers which is equal to 12 units. So total we have 12 units. So I'll just equate this. 12 units will be equal to rupees 3,600. Hence 1 unit will be equal to 3,600 upon 12. So we get 300 rupees. So rupees 300 is equal to 1 unit. And Rita, Rita has how many units? So since we calculated by this, we'll use this only and not this particular 25 because we calculated regarding 12 units. So we'll have to make sure carefully that we do not use these particular numbers here. And since Rita has 5, so we'll multiply this particular number 300 by 5. Please do check previous videos also so that you understand better. Otherwise, you might get confused as to why we are multiplying. And so the total answer will be rupees 1,500. So this will be the answer to this particular question. Very simple, just the new concept was that of decimals. Like how to convert that I have explained. Thank you.